Hello, I'm Wendy Wilson, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Realizing Potential. Today I have with me in the studio a new addition to Albany State University. He's a part of the leadership team, very excited to have him, and he has a lot to offer in terms of his background, his history, and we are eagerly awaiting his contributions in terms of the role of enrollment management. He is none other than Dr. Dante Truss. How are you, sir?
I'm well.
Very good, very good. Again, welcome to Albany State.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, we're glad to have you. Glad to have you. Tell our viewers a little bit about your background, where you did your undergraduate, graduate work, why you selected those disciplines, and then we'll kind of segue into your career path.
My academic work was done at Alabama State University. Completed my bachelor's, my master's, and my doctorate at Alabama State University. I'm a first generation college student. My mother did eventually go ahead and get a two-year degree, but I was the first one to actually get a bachelor's degree in the family. So once I got to Alabama State University, I liked the way it was set up, and I got very comfortable with how they had established their academic program, so I kind of stuck with it. I also worked the entire time when I was an undergrad, and I'd found a job in the area, so I was working, I was going to school. I finished my bachelor's degree, and as I did, I felt like I could finish it when I started, but man, it was still a happy surprise to be able to finish the task and to show the rest of the family that it can be done. And I think since then I've had multiple cousins, or I know since then I've had multiple cousins and family members to go on and get their bachelor's degree. So as I finished, I started looking for employment outside of what I had been doing while in school, and started working in the counseling field. And as I did, I realized quickly that I needed a master's degree to make any real money. So I ended up going back and getting my master's in counseling. And as I did that, just fell in love with counseling and fell in love with working with students because the opportunity that I ended up finding was with students. So decided to continue in that effort. Got my first job in higher ed at Andrew College as an entry-level counselor for the Educational Talent Search Program. The Educational Talent Search Program is a program that assists first-generation students with going to college. So it was an opportunity for me to give back to those students who were experiencing some of the same things that I experienced when I started school. Fell in love with it. Met a wonderful person who said, man, you have some potential, and I see you working as a counselor, but I think there's some other things I need you to do. This person was basically at the end of her career, and she was a grant writer. And she was telling me basically, look, I'm going to the beach soon, and I need someone to continue these programs or to even go for more programs here at Andrew College. So she introduced me to grant writing. And as she did, she challenged me to write a federally funded program. And I did, and ended up scoring in the top 10%, got an extended version of the grant. And when I did so, the president then said, hey, Dr. Flowers, and I'll name her, she's leaving. I need somebody that can manage these programs. And I'm 9 months into this position as a counselor at this point, and wrote the first $1 million grant, and he allowed me to manage 3 other federal programs because of my ability to get that one funded.
Impressive.
And ended up writing a couple of others for them, and before I left, I think it came up around $10 million or so in grant funds that I gotten. So, and after I got to that point, I realized, man, I love this and I enjoy higher ed, but in order to go to the next level, and by this time I'd already started thinking about being in an administrative role, wanting to serve at a different level. Being able to write the grants is good, we call them rainmakers, but you also want to be able to create policy. You want to be able to make sure that those first generation students that you're serving, that someone is at the leadership table representing that population as well. So I wanted to go higher in education. And at that time, Alabama State University had started a doctoral program. It was an educational leadership policy and law program, and they offered scholarships. So they ended up offering me a scholarship to come to the program, which took away the financial burden of it.
Excellent.
And I said, this is a perfect opportunity.
Win-win.
Win-win. At that time, though, I was living in the Phoenix City, Columbus area, so I ended up commuting back and forth to my doctoral program 3 days a week, every other Saturday and Sunday. So it was every Monday, every other Wednesday, and every other Friday and Saturday for 3.5 years on the road. It was fall semester, spring semester, summer semester. We didn't take any breaks. Pushed through the coursework side of that in 3.5 years, and then started working on a dissertation. So 4.5 years of my life was given to that doctoral program, and and it turned out really well.
Excellent.
And from there, many other things just started to, many other doors opened up.
Wow, wow. You said a lot of that I can certainly relate to. I'd like to go back to the first generational piece. I'm working on my dissertation now, and that's my topic.
Super.
First generation students. And so before we go into what you're specifically doing here, of course, you know that it is very common for, particularly at historically black institutions, that there is a large demographic of first generation students. Certainly that's the case here. They come through our doors all the time. And I think oftentimes, although we are entrenched, this is our lives, higher ed, we miss that they're a unique group of individuals because of that lack of exposure to what the experience is like. And we take so much for granted in terms of what it is that they should know. Speak to those first generation students that are particularly coming through these doors. And it's not just unique, again, to Albany State University. We just consolidated with Darton State College. I have experience there, and saw a huge population of those students walk through the doors. And they really, if I can compare them to almost infants just coming into the world, just brand new. They're sponges, but their needs are significant. Speak to how they can best navigate these doors or these halls, if you will, and then also speak to our colleagues on what we need to look for in terms of addressing them.
First to that first generation population, I'd like to say to that group, number one, you have the abilities to do it. And any deficiencies that you do have, there are persons who are at these institutions, and now we're speaking specifically for Albany State University, who will assist you.
Sure.
And it's our job to make sure that we wrap the academic support systems around this particular population, make sure we assist them with financial aid, make sure we're able to help them navigate the waters of getting admitted, getting enrolled, getting advised. There are people here who are just like you, first generation students. As a matter of fact, many who are now professionals in this arena, but they started as first generation students. A certain understanding of what you're going through. You just have to get in, get connected, meet some people. Vincent Tinto, Dr. Vincent Tinto, who's a student retention researcher, guru, and as you do your research for your dissertation, you'll see that name come up quite often. He talks about students building at least 3 to 4 relationships on this campus, and as you do, your success will increase tremendously. So again, you can do it. You already have the skill sets to do it. Once you get here, there are people who are here that are designed, that are developed, that are created to assist you with being successful. And then just come with an attitude of perseverance.
Sure.
No matter what happens, get it done.
Yes.
Get it done. Nothing comes without some hard work. Not going to be easy. But if you do the work, you connect with the right people, and tell yourself that you're going to make it, you will. I also understand that there are going to be some people in your family, friends, etc., who haven't done this, and they may not always be able to give you a positive word. It's not because they don't love you. It's just a matter of they're trying to understand exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. And you hear them, you love them, but you keep pushing forward. And again, get connected with the right people. For the colleagues who are here who may not be first generation, maybe they're second, third generation, whatever, we have to make sure that we protect this first generation population because it is a very fast growing population. And these students need our help more so than anyone else because they don't have a mother and father at home who's experienced the college going process. They have mothers, fathers, loved ones, etc., who support them and all that, but they just don't understand all of the different processes that are involved with being successful when they get to college. So we have to understand that. We have to connect with them. We have to mentor them. We have to make sure that we pull them sometimes and say, hey, you can do it. Not only can you do it, but you're going to do it. And I'm going to make sure that I hold you accountable and I get out of you what we need to get out of you in order for you to graduate in 4 years. And then it doesn't stop there because once we get you past being, the first one in your family to go to college, we then got to go on for a master's degree and some other pieces because we understand that many times when you're coming out of that first generation background, it's important that you're setting yourself up to get a quality job. It's important that you continue to build your earning capacity because many times we are not just representing us, but we're representing all those who didn't come or who will come eventually. But that also means that there's a possible financial contribution that we may have to help to the person coming behind us. I'm a firm believer in to whom much is given, much is required. So when get that bachelor's degree, I saw it as a matter of necessity that I reach back and make sure that my cousins and my other family members had the same opportunity.
Outstanding, outstanding. You are here. You're governing a very critical organ here at Albany State University, Enrollment Management. Tell us what you envision. I know you're in the assessment stage of this process, trying to identify what deficiencies may exist and how you're going to go about correcting those, but what you envision it to look like in the near and distant future.
When I interviewed for the position here at university, the first thing I shared was, when I start, for the first 4 or 5 months, I wanted to move into a looking, listening, learning phase. And I shared that a couple of times across the campus in the multiple interview groups that I had to do. And I remember when I met with the deans, and I shared that same sentiment to the deans, and one of the deans said, well, Dr. Truss, it's good that you're going to be looking, listening, and learning, but I need you to do that fast. I need you to do it quicker than a couple of months, because we have some things that we need to move forward on. And he was accurate with his assessment. So as I've gotten here, I have been looking, I've been listening, and I've been learning. And the good piece is I've learned that there's some really good quality people here at the new Albany State University, both on the East Campus and the West Campus. So I'm looking forward to partnering with these great people that I've met and fixing a few things. We're going to tweak some things. We're going to enhance some policies. We're going to make it a bit more customer friendly so that it's not as difficult to navigate. But man, once we connect and we start to partner, I believe that we can truly impact positively the here at the new Albany State University. When I was doing my research for the position, and keeping in mind that I have a background in institutional research, planning, and effectiveness. Over the last 7 years, I've been an associate vice president for that particular area, in addition to being vice provost for student success and enrollment management. But prior to that immediate role, I was in institutional research. I'm an assessment guy. I'm a numbers guy. So as I did my research to prepare for this position, I looked at some of the things that I felt like were barriers in keeping the numbers from getting where I felt like they need to be. And as I did that, I came up with a goal, and I'm standing by that goal today. I developed that thing, but now they confirmed and validated my thoughts. The goal is, over the next 5 years, to have a 32.5% increase in enrollment.
Okay.
I believe there's some back doors that are open on the retention side, meaning we're bringing students in, but we haven't wrapped as much of the support processes around them as we could. So we're going to enhance that piece and strengthen our retention and progression efforts. But even more so on the front end, when we look at bringing the number of students that we want to bring in, by tweaking some of those policies, by making sure that we're returning calls and answering phones, making sure that we have the right people on the right seat or in the right seat is going to be an important piece. And with that, if we can average about a 6% increase over the next 5 years, slightly over 6%, we can turn this into about a 32% increase over the next 5 years here at Albany State University. So that's my goal. I'm sticking with it, and we're going to push hard to get there.
Very good, very good. I'm confident that you can achieve that goal. I'd like to also, before we, the viewers know my two famous questions I'd like to ask all my guests, but I think it's important that we educate those listeners out there, because oftentimes they want their, if you're not entrenched or intentional in terms of getting information about a specific area, you then make assumptions. And so I've often heard one of the assumptions is that this enrollment challenge that Albany State experiences is just unique to this institution, and it is regrettably pervasive across the higher ed landscape. Speak to that, that is a trend that's been going on, and that institutions are having to find themselves to take very unique and very deliberate approaches to addressing that.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. It's not an issue for just Albany State University. If you look at the landscape in higher education throughout the state of Georgia with our publicly funded institutions, you'll see that all of us are working really, really hard to maintain enrollment and to increase enrollment. So it's not just, again, an Albany State concern, but we're here at Albany State University.
Sure.
So we take on that challenge. We know that when you think about institutions like Albany State, for many years we've had a real strong niche and a population of students that we felt like we could pretty much grab. Well, now we have many institutions competing for that same population. And many of these institutions, when you look at their scholarship opportunities, when you look at some of the things that they can offer, it's pretty reputable. So we're working now to make sure that we are able to compete when it comes to scholarships so that we can go after quality students. We know we have some great students already here at Albany State University, but we want to keep even more of our highly qualified students right here at the new Albany State University, and that's going to be a goal. We can compete with anyone. You know, when a student graduates from Albany State University, they can go anywhere.
Sure. And
we want them to understand that. When you look at some of the counties that surround Albany State, such as Calhoun, Clay, Quitman, Early County, Terrell County, these counties, when you look at them on an annual basis, especially over the last 10 years, they represent usually the top 5, top 6, top 10 of the poorest counties in the state of Georgia. So that tells me, or I can extrapolate from that number one, there are many students in that area that need an institution like Albany State University, and because of the lack of funds in that area, because again I mentioned they're some of the most impoverished counties, many of those students are going to be able to afford to go to a school that's 100 miles away, or because they have responsibilities there. They're contributing to the overall income of their families. But to be able to come to Albany State University that's right down the road and know that the programs are solid, by Dr. Kadee and who is our provost here, knowing that we have great deans in place and great faculty members, you're not losing anything by deciding to come to Albany State versus going to a Georgia State or going to a University of Georgia. Matter of fact, you're further contributing to an area that you're a part of anyway.
Right.
And we want to be able to convince those students that. And I think in the past they've done well, but we're going to go in and be even more aggressive with making a really good case that we believe right here in Southwest Georgia, Albany State University is an amazing opportunity that can fit your career aspirations, can assist you with going where you want to go.
Sure. And again, we're back to where we started in terms of first generational students. Oftentimes, and another aspect of that is that depending upon where you reside. And so if you're in an impoverished community, currently I'm heading up the Cordele campus. And so Crisp County has its economic challenges as well. So I come across students all the time, and you use the word quality students. And so that has a very broad definition. So if you may have even had some academic challenges as you matriculated through K through 12, does not mean that you will be a quality student or an exemplary student. And we have the tools in place to assist you in that process. But again, it's a holistic educational process. It's not even the academic, solely the academic piece. It's about social skills and financial management skills and helping individuals to see beyond the immediate. So what will this bachelor's degree yield me 5, 10, 20 years, 30 years down the road? Absolutely. Yeah. So yes, I'm very confident based upon, again, your background that they have the right person at the helm. Let me learn a little bit, or allow our viewers to learn a little bit more about you in terms of what helps you think and get motivated every day to take on the many tasks that you have before you. So I'm curious, who is the individual on a national or international scale that our viewers would be familiar with that has motivated you, that if you've maybe found yourself at time trying to pattern your path after?
Well, a few persons. I have to start with one person that your viewers may not know.
Okay, that's okay.
And that's my father.
Sure.
And I also will say my mother. Let me make sure. She is definitely a major influencer of my life. But this particular instance, I'll share my dad. My dad was one of the hardest working persons I've ever seen in my life. He had an unbelievable work ethic. So much so that he'd go to work during the day and then come home in the evening and work to build us a house. He built it, we built it. So to see him work like that laid the stage or the foundation, I believe, for some of the things that I'm doing now. My father didn't go to college. but he was able to get a great job. He went to the military, retired from military, was able to get a great job, and he built his skill set the blue collar way. But I watched him daily work extremely hard, and he was a great provider for his family. I believe that again laid the foundation for the things that I do. I believe in every round things get higher. That was him laying the foundation. I took it here. Hopefully I'm passing it on to my son, and he sees the work ethic that I had.
Sure.
My dad was also inside of him a huge entrepreneur. He never articulated it that way, but I knew it was because he always had hustle. That's just kind of how he did it. So I start with him. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say, Dr. King. Just looking at all the things and all the challenges and obstacles that Dr. King had to assist us with overcoming and overcome himself. Then I fast forward to William Harvey. Some of you will know William Harvey. He's the president of Hampton University. He's a person that I look up to right now. I love the way he took on a private institution. He built it into something that's amazing. If anyone has had an opportunity to go to Hampton, you know exactly what I'm speaking
campus,
of. A huge cancer center. And he's doing things with that particular institution that people probably never could have fathomed it would happen. Every year, if you look at U.S. News World ranking, you'll see Hampton ranked in the top 5.
Sure.
It vacillates between Morehouse, Hampton, Spelman, those pieces, but Hampton is always there.
Indeed.
And he's an amazing leader
Yes.
who believes in creating succession plans where he's constantly building the next person. And if you look at his track record, he's produced probably more African-American college presidents than anyone else. I had an opportunity to go up and participate in his Executive Leadership Institute and just to sit under him and to just listen. I mean, it was just truly a blessing to be in a room with him and to hear him talk about some of the things that he had done. And then amazingly enough to find out that he's actually from Alabama, and he's a Talladega College graduate was just amazing for me. So he's another. President Obama, you have to pay attention to all the wonderful things that he's done and the change agent that he has become. Whether you like him or not, you have to give him the accolades of he's a change agent.
Without a
he
doubt.
went in and he went upstream, if you will. And he did it with so much grace and
Yes.
such
Poise and dignity. Yes, all of that.
So we have to respect those people.
Indeed. Yeah, I think we'll learn to have even greater respect for him as time moves on.
Agree. History will tell a good story.
Indeed it will. And I agree with you. Harvey is certainly an amazing individual and has just opened pathways and doors and educated so many as it relates to higher ed. And so anytime you're tapped by the president to serve as a guide and advisor in that realm, that speaks volumes. And so was not surprised when President Obama did that. Tell me a book or books that have most influenced your life that you find yourself periodically going back to outside of your preferred religious text.
Well, I'm going to make a shameless plug right here.
Sure. Did you author? Do I hear an author?
I am an author. A little bit of a history behind it, and then I'll show the book. While at Alabama State University, when I went with approximately 7 other young men from Talladega, Alabama, because that's where I'm from, Talladega, Alabama. We all came from very similar backgrounds, first-generation students. And we basically created a pact when we got there that we're not going to let each other fail. We're going to make it through this. It's going to be tough because we don't have a lot of money. We don't have a lot of experiences when it comes to this. Everything that we see is going to be new. And we're going to act like we've been there before. We're not going to, even though we know it's brand
the best
new, we will act like
usually the
we've
best
been there.
way.
Some of the, as I tell this quick story, I remember when we got there, some of the things that some of the other college students were wearing, we had never seen in our life.
Okay.
We were saying like, wow, what is that? We got to figure this out. But anyway, we went together, and when we got there, we met 5 other young men from Dallas, Texas, and we bonded. We were in very similar situations, again, similar backgrounds. We probably could have put all the money that we had together and might have had $100 if we tried hard to dig in our pockets. But we created coping mechanisms. We created what now we believe is a certain approach that first generation students or students coming from similar backgrounds, especially African American men in this particular instance, we created this almost like a roadmap to success. We didn't know it then, but as we look back on it, we saw that that's what it was. We came up with ways to make money on the campus. We came up with ideas on how we could legally find ways to provide a service that was needed on campus, and also allow students to have some fun and some other pieces, but more importantly for us at that point, make some money so we could buy books,
Sure,
and we could eat and we could survive. That group then was called Dallas. It was Talladega, Alabama, and Dallas.
Okay.
Connected. And after we all graduated, and we did, which was an amazing testament to the efforts of all of us, we decided that we wanted to give back. So we created a nonprofit, and I was the first president of this nonprofit. And it ended up taking the Dallas Incorporated and called it TDI. And we switched the name around to Turning Dreams into Reality. And so we started giving our first scholarships approximately 7-8 years ago. And as we did, as we had our board meetings, started to think about all the things that it took for us to make it. So we decided to write a book. And we authored a book, and it's entitled It Was All a Dream, and you can find it on Amazon.com.
Okay.
Look for it under TDI Incorporated, because we just wrote it under that name, but you'll see all of our individual names when if you were to look for the book. But the book basically chronicles all of our stories and what it took for us to make it to Alabama State University and then be successful while we were there. And every time I read the book, it, further cements the idea that if you believe you can do something, you can do it. When we look at the stories individually and all the things that we had to overcome, it's amazing to see the end result.
Sure.
And now these guys are superintendents of school systems. I'm VP of Enrollment Management here at Albany State University. We have entrepreneurs, we have CPAs, we have vice presidents of Fortune 500 companies.
Excellent.
All started in this group and now are part of the board that makes up TDI. We had an opportunity last year, which was amazing to me. We funded a young African-American male student from Alabama State University to go to China and to basically complete an internship. We've given away over $20,000 over the last couple of years in scholarships to young African-American men who are going to college.
Great.
But more importantly, we've mentored over 500 young African-American men. We've helped them with internships, assistantships. We've gotten them jobs. We've put them in places to meet the right people to do the things, and it just continues to grow.
Outstanding.
So it has been amazing. So shameless plug for the book.
That's okay. That's
It
wonderful.
Was All a Dream.
Yes.
By TDI Incorporated. Look for it. It's in all your major bookstores. Also check out our website, which is TDI. Let me get it right. TDI2. And we'll fix it, I guess, and put it on the screen, .org, but I'll give you the exact web address. But go out, take a look at the nonprofit. So, yes.
Great. I'll have to look at it for a couple different reasons. I love to read, and the other piece, I'm sure there's some content that will help me in my dissertation. Yeah, see?
would definitely be something
so
that'll help,
that
yeah.
shameless plug was
Yeah,
certainly
shameless
needed.
plug.
Yeah, absolutely. It was certainly
Good
needed.
deal.
I'm excited about the future of Albany State University. Certainly, what the president has been doing as it relates to just trying to identify those individuals that will then help to advance and take it to the next level. You were certainly a part of that selection and identification process. So continued success in terms of what it is that you will specifically doing that I know will then billow out and impact the rest of the institution. You were always welcome back on the show to do any let our viewers and potential students know what we're doing as it relates to trying to grow this institution and how it impacts the greater community. Thank you so much for joining me for this edition of Realizing Potential. I'm Wendy Wilson, and I will see you next time.